everyone, it's Rachel. Welcome back to another week of what my family had for dinner. We're going to jump right in with a crock pot meal, starting off with some chicken leg quarters that I have seasoned with some seasoning salt and some garlic powder. Just let those cook until they were falling apart. Then I removed them from the crock pot and then deboned them and removed the skin. This is a tedious job, but this is so good. These chicken leg quarters have so much flavor. It just is a lot of work to make sure that you get all of the tiny little bones and the grizzle out of them. And then I went back in and removed all of the little yucky pieces that were down in that broth. I go through it with a fork, and then I did go back in and strain it with a small kitchen strainer just to make sure that none of those sharp bones were in there. And then I added a package of chicken gravy mix to that, stirred it around until it was mixed in really good and not clumpy. And then I came back and put in a can of cream of chicken soup and a can of cream of celery soup. I just dumped those right into the crock pot. Just to make a nice gravy or sauce for that chicken to go back into. I am going to use a can of carrots for this recipe. That is my preference just because I need to have my veggies cooked super soft, and I prefer carrots out of a can for recipes like these. It just aids in my own personal digestion, but of course, use whatever you like. And so I am just getting everything mixed together, and then I will put my chicken all shredded up back into the crock pot. We're doing a lot of crock pot meals this week just because it comes in so handy when you're busy, and it's always wonderful to come home after a long day and have dinner already made for you. And it is also just that time of the year. Although I use my crock pot year round, I especially love using it during the fall and winter season. You can use any kind of chicken that you want for this recipe, whether it is chicken breast or rotisserie chicken or even canned chicken if you prefer. But my husband was gifted some packages of chicken leg quarters by a friend, so that is what we are using. And here you see I just added a soup can full of water just to thin out this sauce, and then I realized that I didn't add any onions to this recipe, so I used some dried minced onions in place of chopped onions. And then once I have it all stirred up, I decided it needed something green. And you've probably heard me mention that we have a pea hater in the family, and it doesn't matter what kind of peas it is. He doesn't like peas at all, so I usually tend to make those on the side for the rest of us. But I wanted something green in there, so I just ripped up some parsley and added that in just for color. And then in my mixing bowl, I'm getting 2 cups of Bisquick mix and some olive oil and some milk as it calls for on the box for drop biscuits. And after I get that all mixed up, I'm just going to add a nice handful of shredded cheese. And I'm using cheese out of the bag because it's just convenient and it works just fine. So I'm going to mix that all in there. And then all I'm going to do is just drop my biscuits right on top of my chicken mixture. And you will see that when I close the lid, it looks nice. See, everything looks so right according to the box directions, but I do come back in and add more biscuits thinking that these would not be enough, and then our whole chicken dish gets totally covered with a biscuit layer, which is just fine too. It just made it more like a pot pie in my opinion, but it did have the texture of biscuits. And I added a little bit of shredded cheese on top of those biscuits because they were looking a little beige and blah. So I just put that cheese on there to give it some color. And I probably could have waited a little while for this to cool down and set up, but I'm always so ready to dig in whenever the food is done. So I took it out while it was still piping hot and put it in my bowl, and I did let it sit to cool down a little before eating, because as you can see, it was very, very hot. I do add my peas on the side, and I just like that all mixed together. And like I said, we just have somebody who doesn't like peas in the family, and that's fine. My husband really liked this. We all did, and definitely would put this on our menu going forward into the cold weather season. And the next meal is also a crock pot dinner, and I basically got this ready the night before. I had just finished cleaning this crock pot from the chicken and biscuits, and here I am getting it ready to go to work again. Recently, when I was at a discount grocery store, I noticed that they had some boxed au gratin potatoes marked down for less than $1. So I picked up a few boxes of those, just thinking they would come in handy if I needed a quick and easy meal. And I always need a quick and easy dinner idea, but I'm not a big fan of boxed au gratin potatoes, the way that the directions call for you to make them. So I decided that I would give them an upgrade by adding onion, smoked sausage, peppers, and sour cream or whatever I had on hand. And I have these adorable green peppers from the garden, so I got those all washed up and ready to be chopped up and go into this dish. Of course, you can use any kind of pepper that you want, red, orange, or whatever, but if you just so happen to have some little adorable green peppers from your garden like I do, go ahead and use those. So I just mix those all together with my knife, don't mind me, in my crock pot, and got them ready to go back into the fridge for the night. And then in the morning, I just planned on finishing up by adding the rest of the ingredients. I had some leftover minced garlic in the jar, so I put it back in the fridge and added almost a whole stick of butter. And I'm just going to use those packets of cheese sauce that come in the box. And unfortunately, I lost some of my video footage, but I did have some still pictures, so I'm adding those here to show you that I basically just used what they recommended for milk and butter in the dish, and then I added what I had left of the sour cream and some of the Sargento sliced Colby Jack cheese. I just chopped it up into squares, and this is how it turned out. And this was a huge hit, and I was a little bit offended because my husband said these were the best au gratin potatoes that he's ever had. And generally, I make them from scratch. So these are boxed potatoes, and he says, well, I hate to tell you, but these were out of this world. So I don't know if I would say all that, but I definitely know that if I ever buy boxed au gratin potatoes again, I will definitely make them in the crock pot because these were very tasty, and they do set up. But like I said, I'm always in a rush to get the food in my bowl that I never give it time to cool down. But here is what was for dinner on this night. Very simple, very easy. Moving on, another crock pot dinner, and this night I just had, well, this morning, because this was before work, I had some beef that I had already cooked up, and so I decided to throw it in my crock pot and get a chili going so it would be ready when we got home from work. And my crock pot is getting that white ring in it. And I know that this thing is clean, but my husband will ultimately be scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, trying to remove that. And he will claim it is dirty when I know it is not. But we'll let him scrub it until his little heart is happy. I'm just adding 2 cans of kidney beans, and then I had a can of this chili mix, which has like some spices or some type of gravy in it. So I added that too. And then I came back with that leftover bit of minced garlic, added some water to it, and just used the rest of that. Instead of using canned tomatoes this time, I decided to use the tomatoes that came from our garden. I'm just chopping them up, skin and all. These tomatoes were so juicy and so ripe. It made them perfect to go in this pot of chili where they were just going to get cooked down and get very soft anyway. And they just gave such a great fresh flavor to this chili. So I will definitely be using up all of my tomatoes that are just sitting around waiting to be used in something in these types of dishes. And so I'm getting my peppers ready next. These are, again, those little peppers that came out of our garden. And I think somehow with them being smaller in size, it made them easier to chop up. I don't know. It just seemed like it went really fast and they were already bite-sized. Just a heads up, some of the crock pot recipes that I'm making in this video will also be featured in a crock pot collab that's coming up in about a week. So if you love crock pot recipes like I do, please look out for that one. There will be lots of other YouTubers sharing some of their favorite crock pot recipes, and I will also have a couple more to share in that video. I had some chopped up onions and some very ripe jalapenos to go into the crock pot next. So I just scraped those off of the cutting board and into the crock. And I had already cooked up some ground beef another day when I made a different recipe. I love making more than what I need. And that way it's already cooked and ready to go into the crock pot whenever I need it. I don't enjoy making crock pot meals that require extra steps, so having meat already cooked up is such a great way to save time. Here I'm adding some chili powder and some ground cumin, and I'm also adding a little bit of seasoned salt as well. And I'm just going to add a couple of these packages of tomato sauce. I had these in my freezer from something that I bought. They had some tomato sauce and we didn't use it. So I always throw little packets like that into my freezer, and they do come in handy from time to time. I'm using a little bit of this Better Than Bouillon beef broth and made it in that container that had that meat in it and just poured that right in. We enjoy our chili to be a little more beefier than tomato, if that makes any sense. So just stir that all around and get those seasonings mixed in, and that is pretty much all there is to this chili. I just let it cook for about 4 hours on high, and that's it. It'll be dinner time when we're ready to come home from work and get a bowl. I love coming home from work and having dinner all ready to go. And as you can see, those peppers and those tomatoes cooked down really nice and soft and tender, and everything was just kind of simmered together, and all of those flavors were just perfect. I poured mine over some saltine crackers. I just kept it super easy. I think I said that I put this on high when actually my husband was working from home on this day, and I had him turn it down on low since everything was already cooked. It really didn't need to be on high. I just put a little bit of cracker on top as well because I like my soggy crackers on the bottom, but my crispy crackers on top. There is a science to chili. And then I had to pour a little bit more on top because it was a little too dry for me. But that was dinner. When Friday rolled around, I was asked to babysit and I was feeling a little run down, but of course I couldn't say no. So I just got some frozen pizza out of the freezer and let the grandkids go to work. They had so much fun making their own pizza, and all I had to do was supervise.
Oh, it really is. And I just feel it. Oh, that cheese makes it smell even better.
We want lots of cheese, right?
Ooh, so we're just gonna do like first there's a layer of cheese and pepperoni already on it, and then we're gonna do a layer of cheese and then do a layer of pepperoni. Yeah.
Sure.
We're adding some more pepperoni.
Okay.
Good. So good.
We were all in agreement that we would not tell the parents that we had pizza and popcorn and Chips Ahoy for dinner. We just decided to eat on the couch and make it a movie night. After all, what happens at Grandma and Grandpa's stays at Grandma and Grandpa's. One of our favorite things about fall is football season, whether it be the pros, college football, or catching a hometown game. And on Saturday, I was able to get out and catch our grandson's football game. This is Zachary, number 4, and so we all were kind of busy with activities and doing our own thing, so we just did our own thing for dinner as well. Hi everyone, it is Saturday and I am just stopping by to say hello. Thank you all for watching this video, and if you haven't already done so, make sure that you subscribe so that you can see my future videos. I'm not having anything for dinner today. Mom's day off, I guess, because Bill and Cameron went out to an event. There's like some WWE thing going on downtown, so they went to that. Dawson's at work, and I am just going to tackle a few projects around the house, and to be honest, I had some SpaghettiOs for dinner today, so nothing to show you there. Sometimes those are the best kind of days, and I know that I have a lot to do around the house, little kitchen projects and little cooking projects. I'll just turn you around so you can kind of see what I'm dealing with today. Not complaining, but we have a lot of stuff to get taken care of in the garden. I have a partial grocery haul to put away. I wasn't home when they were delivered, so they're kind of sitting and waiting for me. My crock pots are clean, but they need to be put away as well. And then, of course, I have my drill out because I'm working on some kitchen cabinet things. So while the boys are away today, I'm just going to tackle some of my messes, and I'm just going to say bye from here, and I will see you next week for another week of What's for Dinner. Bye.